Hello, I'm Dave Pontich from St. John's Academy in Shawnigan Lake, and welcome to our virtual town hall meeting. As you'll see, we're all working from home, so there may be some technical glitches and apologies in advance. Next slide, please. I want to talk to you a little bit about the proposal we have, which includes telling you some background information on St. John's Academy, also looking at the guiding principles for our school. I'll share with you some information about the agencies we've been working with and how we've been reviewing this and the parcels which we're proposing an expansion for. We will share some of the principles and the actual campus plan. And finally, you'll have the opportunity to share your contributions about our proposed project. Next. As mentioned, I'm Dave Pontich. I'm the head of school, and we've been working with Perkins Eastman. We have Noor Kassem, who's the project architect, and then we also have been working closely with Kim Kofine, who's the senior architect on this project. In addition, we've been working with a number of other agencies, including VIA Architects for rezoning and subdivision and consolidating. We've worked with landscape architects. We've also been working with different agencies that have looked at traffic and transport, and also civil engineering as well. Next slide, please. So we were established first in 1992 in Vancouver. Shawnigan Lake is our second campus, and in September we envisage having anywhere between 120 to 140 students who will be in grades 4 to 12 inclusive. Our current capacity is approximately 350 students with the ability to host about 200 boarding students. As you're probably aware, the school has been used since 1927 as the Strathcona Lodge Girls Boarding School. And in September 2019, we paired up with Perkins Eastman to complete a campus expansion plan study. There's a few things that really make us stand out. One is that we're an IB middle years program candidacy school, and a big part about that philosophy and framework involves inquiry-based learning, which requires students to take the lead in their learning process. And it requires that not only students, but staff also collaborate a lot, and they need progressive workspaces. We also have a key part of the learning process is experiential learning, where students are actually active and moving about, opposed to just sitting in your typical traditional school setting where you're in rows sitting in your chair. One of the things we were able to do before we opened the doors to students is virtually the whole staff, including all of the teachers, became certified positive discipline in the classroom practitioners. This program allows students to work with our students, and it's all based around mutual respect and connection before correction, where we help to work with our students to become model citizens for the ever-changing world that is the 21st century. And with our ideal location, one of the things that really matters to us is having a connection to the environment. We're very fortunate to be right on the lakefront with Shawnigan Lake in front of us, and behind us having Mount Baldy. So we like to work with our local environment in educating our children. One aspect of our educational offer is the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which requires all students to be involved with learning a new skill, community service. They're also involved in physical activity, and then they have to take part in an adventurous journey. Next slide. So you might wonder, why is it that we want to expand? Well, our model involves, unlike previous owners, having a school that's open to our entire community. We don't want to be predominantly an international school. We want to be a community school that has some international students. To this end, we were awarded with Group 2 status, which essentially means we're a society school, and a requirement for being a society school is that we are more than 50% BC students. This expansion will also provide a huge amount of new jobs in the community. There will be over 100 full-time permanent new teaching jobs and at least 150 non-teaching jobs. And that's not to mention all of the money that will be created in the local community when we're able to go ahead with this project. One of the things that matters most to me is providing a multicultural experience for our students. So we're really excited about being able to bring international students with our local students. And finally, this year we started off with grade 6 to 11. Next year, we're going to be moving down to include grade 4 and 5 as well. And then our grade 11 students will be moving up to grade 12. The long-term vision of the school is to actually expand from kindergarten to grade 12. Next slide. So it's great that we want to expand, but unfortunately the campus needs a huge amount of work. We've already spent a couple $1 million just getting the facilities to an acceptable level with what we have. However, they're still not really adequate. Unfortunately, there haven't been any major improvements on the campus since the 1970s. So we need to look at the building design and optimize that. We also need to look at making sure our facilities enable us to offer the International Baccalaureate programs to the best of our abilities, and we've got very limited classroom space at this moment. The campus itself is quite limited. If I give one example about PE, I'm currently redoing our timetable because we're not able to teach PE to 2 classes at one time because our facilities just don't enable it. They won't allow us to do that. You'll also see the picture on the right there involves our fitness center, which is essentially a portable. Our science labs are also portables. They're less than ideal learning environments for our students. So next slide. I'll tell you a little bit now about the agencies that we've been working with and give you a slight overview of the process. Right now you can see we're just leaving stage 1A to 1B, where we're going to be seeking your input on how we move forward with this. You can see there's approximately 12 to 18 months where we'll go through the application and evaluation stage where we are rezoning and hopefully getting approval for our project. After that, stage 4 and 5 involve the development and the final plans. It's probably worth noting now that we'll be seeking your input from June 29th to July 17th. Obviously, we'll be working with rezoning, so that includes the CVRD, and we also work with the Ministry of Transportation, the Island Corridor Foundation, the ICF, and then the Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada. All of those agencies have been consulted in our process. Next slide. Here's an overview of our existing campus and properties. So you can see parcel 1 is primarily, that's the hill going up to Baldy Mountain, and that's where our current septic field is and our water utilities. And we're looking to connect that to parcel 8 and 10, and we're looking for some rezoning there. What you know about our campus is primarily parcels 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is our existing building location where we have our residences. In the long term, we envisage having that being our primary school, and we also want to have our boathouse and a residence with that, and that will require us to do some rezoning as well. And then parcels 6 and 7 is where our field currently is. That's looking at being rezoned, and longer term, that's going to be where we'll be focusing our parking from. And then finally, parcels 8, 9, and 10 are recent properties that we've acquired. And on those properties, it's proposed that we will have our residences, which it'll include an additional dormitory, and our school from grade 6 to 12, and that will require some additional rezoning. Here's a few pictures of our existing campus. You can see the top left is our school. On the right is the dock, which we had rebuilt this year. And then in the lower left is just one of our 4 dormitories. And then you can see in the bottom right more pictures of our dorms in the administration building. These are all the buildings we currently have. You can see we've got a series of 2- and 3-story dormitories, which also have basements. We've got a gym, a 2-story classroom. We've got a number of portables, including our science portables and our fitness center. We also have our dance studio, which is over 100 years old, and we're keen to keep that because we know it's important in the community. And in addition to that, we have our gymnasium as well, which is also over 100 years old and a important part of Shawnigan Lake's history. So we're very keen to preserve these important parts of our community's history. Next slide, please.
Great. Thanks, Dave. I'm going to take it on from here. Just a little bit about the planning principles. And to that point, we're really looking toward working with the community on defining what areas this new project can help support your community. So today our presentation is what we're proposing, but we are looking forward to hearing your input as well. As David mentioned, there's already really strong connections with our Eco Village and some opportunities potentially to expand the multi-use pathways along the E&L rail line that we'll share with you in the proposed plan. So please take the opportunity after you hear our presentation to provide your input on areas that we can strengthen those connections. A little bit about the design process. As David presented in that overall schedule, we're really kind of starting at today at defining the overall campus plan, and there's a 12 to 18 month period where we get those approvals for rezoning, and then that allows the project to go into development. So the principles that we're talking about here are really further down the road when we develop the plans in more detail and after agency approval. But the goal is really to embrace the West Coast modern style, which is really about the natural environment and optimizing orientation and daylight and connections to the outdoors, utilizing local resources and analyzing the design in a way that is more sustainable. Additionally, the sites, in particular parcels 8 through 10, have an extensive amount of topography, and the way that we're proposing the campus plan is responsive to the topography so that it reduces the amount of excavation and that we're sensitive to kind of existing hydrology. Another component that's going to be critical as we move through the development of the plans and after CVRD approval, we'll be looking at how the design is sustainable. And this is just a framework that is multifaceted. When we think of sustainability, it's not just operational costs, it's the health and wellness of the occupants as well as the health of our environment. There are current step code strategies, which is the local code for more sustainable design that we'll reference. Currently, those strategies aren't mandatory, but it's the intention of reflecting on those step code strategies as part of the development plans. Again, continuing on the design principles, preserving nature, we have the site that's contained within the forest. We'll be looking at maintaining the periphery trees and habitat. We'll also look at the E&L rail line as potential connection to the local trails. Additionally, 2 of our parcels on 8 through 10 and parcel 6 have a seasonal streams that will be maintaining those setbacks as required as part of our development, and you'll see that also on the campus plan, and that's reflective in the riparian guidelines. And then lastly, the built environment will be utilizing LEED as a means to address the actual design of the building and the overall campus design. Vision for the outdoor improvements, we're looking at protecting and enhancing the environment, as well as demonstrating our leadership toward the stewardship of the environment. And that's really a direct reflection of how the building is designed and how it's sited on the campus. Reflecting on the mission of the school, the design of the facility will also reinforce the outdoor-indoor connections and support the outdoor education opportunities. And then you see the well-being and health of the student and the boarding students is not just about athletics and sports, but it's about a social interaction and these opportunities that the lake provides to the campus is more than just about physical activity. It's about the wellness of the students. And when we look at design for resiliency, we've talked about sustainability, but there's another component that is over and beyond just sustainability, which is thinking about the long-term impacts of climate change. And as we move into the development of the plans, we have the ability to look at computational modeling that looks out to 2050 on how the climate is going to change within the region and how the design of the building will better support those eventual change in temperatures. And we've had already discussions with our eco-village about having opportunities for this facility to support emergency preparedness for the community. And then to the right, we have a list of reports that are already underway. We have the riparian area report, which studies the high water marks for not only the lake, but the seasonal streams on the various parcels. And those have been identified and setbacks have been established as a result of those reports. Raptor study is underway right now where we're identifying any nesting birds. The environmental impact assessment report will be required as we develop parcel 6, as there's a fish passable seasonal stream on that parcel. And we'll want to maintain and ensure that there are no impacts to that stream as that parcel gets developed. And additionally, we have a geotechnical report that allows us to understand the soil as it relates to the stormwater retention and septic field expansion design as we move again into further development of the project. So Nora, would you like to provide an assessment of the proposed campus plan?
Yes, absolutely. So we've started, of course, looking at the current campus plan, and based on the reports, we've clearly identified these two blue circled areas, which are our existing streams that Kim mentioned. So of course, these are areas we'd like to maintain, where we'd like to maintain the natural ecology, we'd like to maintain the habitat as much as possible, respect the setbacks, of course, but we think that those are valuable things for the campus and for the curriculum of the school. We've also identified, as a result, several areas for future development. So parcel 6, to slowly walk you through our plan. This is a parcel where we intend to have more of the parking. So there is a nice area for that development. For the main campus, probably the area you're most familiar with, because you can see it driving along Shawnigan Lake. We have identified 2 areas to the north and 1 more toward the south for possible expansion, a possible development for residents by the lake, and then parcel 8 to 10, which are down low on the bottom left corner. We've identified 2 areas, 1 larger and 1 smaller for future expansion. And this is what we'd like to propose as a plan. So as you can see, we have the parking area over here where most of our parking will go. In terms of flow, how this is intended to work is to have a busing students down through Shawnigan Lake to the different areas of the campus. As much as possible, we are keeping the existing access to the different parcels. So vehicular accesses won't be that different from what you're familiar with. There's a little more improvement done over here just to ensure proper access also for fire trucks and things like that for security reason, as well as drop off and enhance just a natural circulation through the campus and the area. In terms of program, the current campus has dormitories here, so we wanted as much as possible to keep dormitories close together. So we've identified this area to develop one of the dormitories. The other development on this parcel is the extension of the lower school, the primary school. So the primary school currently will happen in these two existing buildings, and we'll have to expand and provide a nice play yard for all the students to share here. Other development that will be done and improvement just in general are a more formalized crossing to access the lakefront, and then a more formalized boathouse pavilion that would create a dock, not just for storage of equipment, but also for place of leisure. Down at parcel 8 to 10, we've located another dormitory here with a private access. This also allows to limit as much as possible access through the to the site by car, since we think that most of the students, by staying on site, won't have cars. And then the larger development of the academics from 7 to 12th grade over here with a play field. We'll have an area for a library, a dining area, a gym. So a lot of those facilities that the school is currently lacking that Dave mentioned at the beginning, we'll anticipate to provide those. A couple more things in terms of the general plan. This is the current ENR railway, so we would like to investigate the possibility of providing a path as part of the trail system in the area. So that's something that we've been looking at. And then another item will be to utilize the current parcel where most of our utilities, the school utilities, are located, create a connection under this path to be able to serve this new portion of the campus. Another thing you can see here that is highlighted is the importance of screening from our neighbors. So we've highlighted all around areas where edges will be important to ensure privacy for our neighbors, immediate neighbors. And in a three-dimensional view, this is very schematic, but shows you a little bit of what we're looking at. So main campus, the white buildings are what is existing. Here is the proposed dormitory that we mentioned earlier. So again, importance of screening, importance of views, and then you can see in all the new buildings that we propose, we look at terracing the volumes in order to let the volumes sit on the topography and be more respectful of that topography. In addition, one of the strategy we're looking at while developing this massing is making sure to keep privacy for the neighbors, and so ensuring that the views from the campus do not look at the adjacent properties directly, but do redirect the views to keep our buildings from looking into the adjacent properties. All this seems pretty feasible so far, so we're pretty excited. In the front here, proposed develop for a boathouse. So this is what we're looking at, and it's pretty exciting. Next, I will give it back to Dave to talk about some of the benefits and just traffic calming and safety improvement at the site.
Yeah, we realize that traffic's a concern not only for yourselves, but it is for us. So what we would like to propose is that there be reduced speeds on the road that goes in front of the school from 40 down to 30 kilometers per hour, and there will be school zone speed limit signs. However, these are currently pending MODI review. We'd also like to see a formal pedestrian street crossing. That's we already do have a painted crosswalk, but we would like to have flashing beacons at the school entry, and this is also being reviewed by MODI with input and consideration of the CVRD. It's worth mentioning that we're going to have school shuttle busing, and that'll be on parcel 6, which is currently our field. Obviously, boarding students will not need to be bused to and from school, and currently more than 80% of our students come in from the bus. So the actual impact on traffic is perhaps much less than what you might actually think. We also are looking at some expanding our parking measures. So this project includes expanded parking per the chart below. We exceed the minimal requirements from the CVRD, and we're looking at having approximately 240 parking spaces. Next slide, please. And finally, we're really keen to expand this campus, and we think there's a lot of benefits, not just to our students, but actually to the entire community. So we want to make our athletic field facilities in the field available to everybody. We want to allow the public to have access to the media center and art spaces. We don't mind sharing access to the boat dock, and we'd also like to have community members use our spaces, whether it be for weddings or community gatherings. And something that we're really keen on, and it fits very much in line with our vision of being a school committed to outdoor education, is we would like to development trails along the E&N Railway and up and around Mount Baldy. This could also involve students getting involved in clearing the broom on the mountain as well. Another discussion we've had is that we want to have a facility for community emergency preparedness center. So we'd be happy to offer our school for a place for that. And key for us is making sure that not only we have the world's best education, but it's at an affordable price to our local community. So in addition to being able to provide something like $50 million expansion project, I've already highlighted that it's going to create hundreds of good, permanent, full-time jobs in the area. And we think that'll be of benefit to many of the local contractors and many of the local families who are looking forward to an affordable option to the world's best education for their children. And finally, here's our mission and vision statement, which sums up and drives everything we do as a school. And this idea of being a caring community is central to everything we do. So please do not hesitate to give us your feedback. My email is right there, dave.pontich@stjohnsacademy.ca. You've probably clicked into the link on our website to watch this video. Please share your feedback between June 29th to July 17th. So this window is available for you to tell us anything that you would like to share with us about the project. And again, you've got till July 17th to share your feedback. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate your thoughts and concerns and look forward to speaking to you more about our project and future. Thank you.